Welcome to Malpractice Podcast. What's up, girl? Are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am ready to get started.
Okay, perfect. How are you?
I am good. Y'all, normally, me and Sydney be fucking it up. Oh, I'm Jess.
We do. We already did. I'm Sydney.
And normally we be having pre-show conversations that are really choice. And then we're like, we should be recording. And today we said, don't talk to each other. And
we hopped
recording.
right on Zoom, and I was like, don't say a word. We're going to start recording immediately.
And I love it.
Because all of our choice stuff happens before we hit record, and then we're like, damn, people would love this. This is quality shit. Also, thank you to our listeners for sticking it out to season 2. We're super excited. And we have so much stuff in the works. You guys may or may not have noticed that some of season 1 is being re-released.
Because we respect your ears.
We respect the authority. We respect the hustle. So we basically got better microphones and figured out some of our audio quality issues. So we're re-releasing old episodes with improved audio because the first edition sounds realistically like we live in a rusty bucket.
I mean, and while I don't want it to sound like that.
I want it to sound like we're professionals at least. Yeah, at least sound that way.
Yeah. That's all I look for. Yeah, you know what? If you've been here since season 1, episode 1, give yourself a pat on the back.
You're a ride or die.
I like you. Yeah, but shout out to y'all, because...
That's me taking a big ol' slurp of wine into the microphone.
As if on brand, I have a coffee because I have no respect for my sleep schedule. And you have wine because you respect nice wine or wine that tastes good. And what's it called? A little buzz. Wow, I'm a good time. I don't even know what words are about wine.
That's authentically true. I do love wine. I appreciate wine. I also appreciate coffee. I just
Sydney makes the best coffee in the world. And period.
It's that Nespresso, man. So, for our listeners, my husband got me an espresso machine for Chris' birthday.
They're very close together. An event.
Whatever. He got me it for something. And it makes... I don't support Nestle, whatever, sponsor us. But, like, no one rides for free. Aval, Nestle. Trying to sneak up in this podcast.
That would be great. We will let you sneak, Nestle. If you're listening for some reason, sneak in.
You're shady, but we appreciate your money. Anyway, so he bought me this Nespresso machine, and it makes the most delicious coffee in the entire universe.
It's so good.
And it makes espresso at your house without having to do all the extra bullshit. So this morning, I drank 4 shots of espresso.
I respect that. Did you hear that? God, no.
Yeah. Is that your dog?
I don't know. Michelle or Corey. It's one of those two.
It's a ghost. As long as it's not a ghost.
I'll burn this apartment complex to the ground.
I don't fucks with getting haunted. Like, when we moved into this house, they were like, oh, yeah, someone died, but, like, outside, like, a really long time ago because he fell off the roof. And I was like, okay, but, like, is it haunted? And the realtor was like, I mean... And I hope not.
I didn't know that. I stayed there. Damn. I'm fucking
First of all,
haunted.
you're going to stay here again because I live here and you can never get away from me.
That's true. I will risk a haunting.
Oh, yeah. So I drank...
But 4 espressos, you're a psycho that I love.
The reason that I did that is because Eric got his second COVID vaccine.
And a man who doesn't feel good is a baby.
Is a complete baby. First of all, men are total babies. 100% agree with you there. And second of all, he got a fever. So I woke up in the middle of the night, like, sweating. Like I sweated through my shirt. Like, I was so hot. And in the middle of the night, he was cold. So he turned the temperature up 5 degrees.
Yeah, sounds right.
So the temperature in our house was 77 degrees. A of all, there's that. B, he had a fever, and so he was hot. Like, he was, like, radiating heat, like a human space heater.
Yeah. Did he whine a lot?
He whined a ton. He woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, can you bring me an aspirin?
At 4 o'clock in the morning? Eric, go to sleep.
I was like, I'm sorry, did the COVID vaccine also break your legs? Or can you... No, I got up and got it for him.
Poor Eric.
But also, tell me if you understand this. Because we had a whole conversation, not a fight, but an argument for sure. Because Eric, he came home, he lied to me about which arm he got a shot in.
Why?
Because he grew up with 2 brothers, and he thought I was going to punch him in the arm. I was like, oh, which arm did you get it in?
But y'all have been together for a long time. Like, you have never been an arm punching.
I'm not an arm puncher.
Well,
I'll punch an arm, maybe.
But not about a shot. Just a regular old punch, sure.
I know how sore your arm gets. I would not punch your arm after it was really sore. And he was like, well, my brothers would have straight up, like, immediately knuckled me in the arm.
Okay, but your brothers don't sleep with you, so, like, relax.
Right. And it also baffled me because I'm an only child, and I was like, I would just never think to punch you in an arm that hurt. And he's like, that's the thing. You're an only child. You don't understand what it's like to have siblings who want to punch you.
Okay, but I would not do that to Rebecca.
No, she couldn't handle
that to her. That is rude.
It is rude.
That is a level above what I would do. Would I sit on her?
Sure.
As a child, sure. Squish her, because she was, like, so small.
Smush her, yeah.
Punching in the arm post-shot? No.
It's hurtful, but they're 3 brothers.
Yeah, I don't know.
They still wrestle. They wrestle in the living room.
What are we going to do if we have a son?
Who becomes a teenage boy.
Like, they're cute and shit until they turn 13, and then they're
gross,
demonic.
Yeah. Teenage boys are gross.
What am I going to do?
Imagine 3.
It's a girl party over here.
Imagine 3 boys. 3.
Rather not.
1, 2, count them 3. That's a lot
of
children.
Girl party.
They wrestle. They, like, break furniture.
They break furniture?
Yes! Girl, we went to Eric's family's house for Thanksgiving, and we were just sitting there, and something happened, and one of the heads, like, fell off a statue. Like, it had clearly been broken before. Like, for a long time, I'm sure. And so Eric's mom turns around, and she's like, which one of y'all broke that? Because it had to be one of them.
Oh, it didn't happen during the time. It was already done.
It was already done, okay. And somebody moved the table or something, and the head fell off.
Oh.
And she was like, "Who did that and when?" And they were all like, "I honestly broke so much shit I can't remember."
Oh hell no.
Kids are terrifying. Also, just for our listeners, when Jess and I were in high school, we were literally obsessed with Criminal Minds, like to the point that it probably was a little unhealthy.
Still am. I'm also rewatching this on my own time. Michelle
Eric and I are rewatching Criminal Minds.
I love Criminal Minds. I love Criminal Minds. I love a criminal mind, and I love Criminal Minds.
Same. And also, I'm reading a book called Mindhunter, like the show. But it's by this guy named John E. Douglas, and he was the person who actually, like, made the behavioral analysis unit at the FBI.
Can I borrow that when you're done?
Yes, of course you can.
Oh my god, that sounds great.
So basically right now I'm just fantasizing about being a behavioral analyst for the FBI.
Okay, bitch, you're in your PhD, like that ain't... Not for now, right?
Everyone already knows, though.
Oh my
god,
you could be Dr. Spencer Reed.
I literally could be. What is his PhD in? Nothing? Me too.
I mean, he has like 18 PhDs.
Maybe they won't hire me. I'm going to call him anyway. My 2 dream jobs, I would like to either be in the BAU, or I would like to work for Conan. Like Conan O'Brien.
Or have a wildly successful podcast with your best friend.
I mean, yes,
the disrespect, y'all. The disrespect. I knew that you were going to leave the podcast out. And me and the podcast are mad. Mostly me. The podcast has no feelings.
You, the podcast, and all 74 of our listeners.
You know what? I love all of them.
Me too.
Now tell me about some crazy shit, because I saw
Are you ready? Because I've got some real crazy shit.
I saw the title, and I was like, ooh. That's some shit I do like.
Because you saw the C word in the title, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, y'all.
No.
Do I have to? I'm going to bleep it out.
Yeah, bleep it out.
I feel like no one our age would care, but our parents' generation will be like, my stars.
I'll say it again.
You know what?
Bop, bop, bop.
Okay, y'all. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about some potentially triggering things like sexual and psychological abuse. Some of it may be very hard to listen to. We value our listeners' mental health, and if this isn't something that you feel comfortable hearing, please feel free to skip this episode. Okay. So today, I'm going to talk about something a little bit different from the stories we normally tell, and I want to tell you and our listeners a ridiculous story about a certain wellness cult.
I'm shimmying because I love a wellness cult. Not really. I love a cult story. I've never heard about a wellness cult.
We love a cult story. Who doesn't love a cult story? And this one is absolutely wild. So this story is about a group that originally marketed themselves as a wellness group for successful, thriving people, mostly women, as you may or may not have guessed at this point, who wanted to join a community of like-minded individuals and be a part of something bigger than themselves. So they told people that by joining, the people who joined would be healthier, wealthier, and part of an important group that was doing big things in the world. Which sounds great.
Is this a marketing pyramid scheme?
Oh, actually, that's a very good question, and that's exactly how it starts.
Stop!
I swear to God.
That sounds like the pickup line from every Facebook message I've ever received from someone I never talked to in high school.
Yes, girl. So the founder's name was Keith Raniere, and he kicked things off in his life by starting a multi-level marketing company way back in the 80s. Think about like Avon, Mary Kay, the start of like essential oils.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I think their MLM at the very beginning sold dishwashers or something.
Dishwashers
and they would
as
like
an
bring
MLM?
Yes, girl.
That's a big product.
Yes. So you had to like host parties and invite your friends and recruit a certain number of members per month. Mm-hmm. So we all know the shtick now in these like modern times of everyone we went to high school with selling you things you don't need on Instagram.
Yep. I have bought some stuff, but
Keith Raniere was like the original boss babe.
Wow.
Fortunately, by the end of the story, the group's creator is going to receive 120 years in federal prison.
Fuck.
Amid allegations of sexual, physical, and psychological abuse that includes everything from coercing people to joining to branding.
Like physical branding with an iron?
Yes. Yes.
Like cattle?
Yes. You heard that right.
This guy is...
By the end of this story, he is literally branding women like pretty famous actresses on camera. But let's get into it. Yes, girl.
Ew.
So some of our listeners
I'm going to look him up, and he probably looks like the bottom of my foot.
He absolutely does.
God
he looks a little
it.
bit like Nerdy Jesus.
Nerdy Jesus.
Some of our listeners who have seen the Nerdy Jesus. I can't believe you saying that. Okay.
Well, I can't believe I just looked him up and he looks literally
exactly like Nerdy Jesus.
Like Nerdy.
Okay.
Look.
I know. He looks like...
I know you know what he looks like. This is not a flattering photo.
Nerdy
is this
cult
from the police?
That's nerdy cult leader Jesus. Okay.
And honestly, all I did was type up Keith and he
Yep.
popped up. I didn't even finish.
Right, exactly.
He's the most famous Keith out there.
Yes, totally. So if you don't live under a rock or you have, maybe you've seen the HBO special. If you have and you're one of our listeners, you're probably like screaming into your headphones or your car or your shower right now. So today I'm going to cover the NXIVM wellness cult. Fast forward, he started an MLM called Consumer Byline, okay? And in this, they're selling dishwashers or something, but they're like coercing people to join, you know, like MLMs do. So...
yeah.
he's sliding in people's DMs like, hey, do you want to make $1 zillion a year?
In their mailboxes.
Yeah.
Their physical mailboxes.
This is back in the 90s. Hey, boss babe.
Wow.
Speaking of which, if you had to be in an MLM or start one, what would you sell?
Huge long pause. You know why? I literally cannot think of one fucking thing I would sell. Cotton candy, for some reason, came to my mind. Like, I would sell cotton candy. And I was like, don't say cotton candy. So then I literally was just thinking like, okay, what else? But then all I could think about was like different flavors of cotton candy.
Machine.
And now we're here.
Cotton candy sugar.
Cotton candy tools. Cotton candy cones. I don't know if that's a thing. Sounds cool.
I 100% would sell Tupperware. Because that shit, A of all, is actually useful. And no one ever has enough Tupperware.
I literally was trying to buy Tupperware. We went to fucking Sam's Club, and Michelle was like, no, we don't need more Tupperware. And I was like, it's a great fucking deal. First of all, don't take me to Sam's.
Don't. It's a mistake.
I am amazed by everything. I'm like, 4 air fresheners for $4. This is a steal. Michelle's like, we are here for Sprite for the wedding. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, candles.
From Sam's Club? Wow, Sam's Club coming in clutch. So the trick of my multi-level marketing scheme would be you sell the basic members.
You've actually thought it out.
Yeah, I definitely thought it out. When I wrote the script for this, I was like, let me write in this question because I have a great answer for it. Because I would sell the basic members the bottom of the Tupperware. But then the trick is you have to be a platinum member to get the top of the Tupperware.
Okay, but why would anyone just buy the bottom?
They wouldn't. They would go nuts. They'd be like, I have to become a platinum member. And that's where you get them.
I think I would buy the bottom just to spite you and use fucking foil. Cover the top. No, you know I'd be a fucking gold star member. Like,
you'd be like, what do I need to do? I gotta recruit 14 people?
14? That's a lot.
Have you ever gotten whatever? Okay, MLMs are wild, and I get these messages all the time from, not calling anybody out, people we went to high school with. They're like, "Hey, boss babe, do you want to make $1 zillion from home?" And I'm like, I do, but I know that I can't do it with what you're asking me to do. So, okay, by 1993, Rainier's multi-level marketing scheme, and at this point in 1993, he had sold over $1 billion in goods. I think that was like mostly dishwashers and shit. Pretty impressive.
Dishwashers is still crazy.
Yes. And at this point,
you know what? My parents bought a vacuum from a door-to-door salesman one time.
You were a door-to-door salesman one time. Remember that? You sold knives in high school. I was like, this bitch is getting kidnapped.
I sold like 2 sets of knives.
I think one of them was to my parents.
I think so. And then the other was to mine. And I was like, I don't
Yeah, okay,
like
I've tapped out my resources. Okay, so by 1993, his company called Consumer Byline is already being investigated in 23 states, unsurprisingly, for being a pyramid scheme because they had to recruit other people to join as part of their membership thing. So that's what it is, right? He eventually settles with the state of New York for $40,000, and he admitted no wrongdoing, but he had to shut the company down, because it was illegal to be an MLM, or to be a pyramid scheme. So,
is it illegal?
To be a pyramid scheme, yes. To be a pyramid scheme.
To be a pyramid scheme.
But not to be a multi-level marketing scheme. I don't know how they're different.
What's the difference? Yep, okay.
I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm wrong.
6 and 1/2.
Maybe they're both illegal. Whatever. Whatever. They're all the same, right? You have to like recruit people and you're going to lose money on it. Whatever. Anyway. Okay. So then Consumer Byline fails. He has to shut the company down. And with it, he begins fine-tuning his ability to manipulate people. And he keeps getting better with every passing year.
Consumer Byline sounds like Spirit Airlines.
That is 100% correct. Consumer Byline is the parent company of Spirit Airlines, 100%. Like, still to this day.
But you shouldn't laugh because you will fly Spirit.
I will fly. I'm scared. I think I'm going to die, but I will fly Spirit.
I will not.
I have done it before. And they let you bring, like...
before, and I won't do it again.
They let you bring, like, a handbag, like a wallet.
They're like, and a clutch, bitch, that's it.
They will charge your ass straight up. They'll charge you for water.
Water, yes.
They're like, you don't get to drink on this airline.
One time I sat on Spirit, and they were like, you know where you're at. I was like, oh, you're right. I'll just close my eyes.
I'm here on Spirit Airlines. Hopefully we make it. That's the motto of Spirit. Hope we make it there.
Hopefully we make it.
So now let's talk about Keith Raniere, and he is this horrifying leader of what will eventually be a prolific cult with thousands of members.
Thousands?
Thousands, girl. So he claims to be the smartest man in the world, so let's start with that. He's still claiming this to this day.
Is this Donald Trump?
They would be friends because they like to manipulate people and they're kind of douchey.
They would. They're probably twins. Yes.
He is Donald Trump's spirit animal.
Yeah. Spirit tool.
Okay.
Twin.
So he told people that he had an IQ of 240.
He looks like it.
And that he had degrees in math, engineering, and physics. And he used these falsified credentials to coerce people into joining NXIVM.
Why don't people check people's facts? Also, what is the biggest IQ you can have?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that, because Einstein had an IQ of 162. Okay, so he's saying he's like 80 points higher than Albert Einstein, basically.
Okay, well, same.
No, samesies. So the way he ended up getting this like bullshit IQ score and convincing people that he was the smartest person in the world is he took this self-reported quiz that was published in an episode of Omni magazine. Like he jotted down the answers and sent it in. And his results were featured in the Guinness Book of World Records Australia edition for him being the smartest man in the world, right?
Oh, God.
It's important to note,
Australia, where did you go wrong?
No, right. So they check it. They printed it for one edition.
That was disrespectful.
And then the editors fact-checked how he arrived at that IQ score. And it was a write-in, self-reported magazine quiz.
Yeah.
And that's apparently all he needed to convince people that he was a genius. And so they quickly took it out of the Guinness Book. And it was only ever in the Australia edition.
He's in one book.
Right.
One of the books printed with his name, and then they were like, stop printing.
But because they fucked that up, he can technically say that he was at one point in the Guinness, whatever. Anyway, so he uses that in the future to basically say, I'm the smartest man in the world. You should love me for that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So that was basically all he needed to convince people that he was a genius, which who amongst us hasn't taken one of those quizzes where you're it tells you how smart you are, and you're like, maybe I am a super genius. I don't know for sure.
I literally have not taken those quizzes because I don't want
You
to.
haven't?
No.
Oh, you're a freak. Everybody takes those.
If I take one and then I find out I'm an idiot, I'll never be able to look at myself again. And I will take it as fact. So I'm not
Fair
doing
enough.
I'm I'll close my eyes. I don't want to see.
Yeah, Keith did not feel that way. He told everyone he was the smartest man in the world, even though he graduated with a 2.26 GPA. So,
I mean, if he has a 240 IQ and he has a 2.26, I am a freaking genius.
Something is wrong. The followers of the cult describe him as a soft-spoken, humble genius who is inspirational and empowering, who they believe holds the key to finding what's wrong with society. I personally would describe him, like I said, as nerdy Jesus, and he talks in bullshit terms that no one actually understands, like synergy. He's like a shitty yoga instructor.
Okay.
Like when you go to a yoga class where they're a little too into it, that's what Keith sounds like. He talks in terms that no one really understands, like synergy, right? He's whatever. He's just bullshitting constantly. And when you watch these videos of him talking, it's so obvious that he's bullshitting his way through everything. He has so many tangents that it's authentically hard to follow him because there's no logical train to his talking.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We know the type.
Yeah. For the people in this group, when everyone around you is revering him and creating this culture of thankfulness to him, they call him Vanguard, they call him Master. They're thank you, teacher, for being the guru that we all needed to be successful in life.
Ew.
Whatever. So they're creating this culture around this man. And I'm sure that as a person in this what would eventually be a horrifying cult, it may have been a little hard to stay skeptical. I mean, not for me, because I'm skeptical of everything.
You are. You're a cat.
But for these
you
people...
You're skeptical.
I'm a cat. Not curious, always skeptical. I'm
yeah.
What's that? Who's there?
Yeah,
Don't
that's you.
talk to me. Stay skeptical. So one girl who knew him as a child describes him as accidentally learned a secret about her family. And eventually he calls her and he basically tells her that he feels like he has these little bottles of poison that he's hanging over her and he could use them on her whenever he wanted. And he's like, I'm not extorting you for anything yet, but there's this creepy implication that I'm holding this secret over your head.
Yeah.
With the constant threat that if you do something to displease him, it'll come out. And remember, at this early age, so he's displaying these really manipulative, shitty behaviors.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting on my call from the BAU, so I'm not a behavioral analyst. But I think that this guy is 100% a huge narcissist and quite possibly a sociopath.
Yeah,
because
he
did that when he was 12 years old. Okay, right.
Jesus.
So after his first business folded, the shitty airline, His next venture was a vitamin selling MLM.
Oh, God.
And during this time, around 1998, he met this woman named Nancy Salzman, who would eventually become the public face of the NXIVM cult. So Nancy claimed to be a trained nurse and one of the leading experts on neurolinguistic programming. But like Keith, Nancy was full of shit, and most of her credentials were made up. She was, however, very charming and personable, and she had lots of contacts that were very high up in corporate America because she had been using this like neurolinguistic programming in corporate America.
Oh, I see.
She was pretty attractive in like an HR lady kind of way. Like she's very put together. And
I know the vibe.
she has like a tight bun and a jewel toned sweater on always.
I thought you were going to say tight butt.
No, tight bun. Maybe, I mean, she's kind of attractive. Maybe she has a tight butt. I don't know her life. Okay, and so her put-together appearance made her an excellent front man for all the bullshit that's about to start piling up.
Oh my God. About to?
Yes, girl. So she meets
We haven't even gotten into the bullshit?
We're not
I'm
even into the
concerned.
bullshit. She
I have
falls in
anxiety.
love, basically, with Keith Raniere, okay?
Right. Well, he's a dreamboat.
And she tells people that she is the, like, outward-facing success story, and Raniere is, like, the guru who led her to being successful, okay? So, NXIVM is set up as a self-help, wellness / personal success group. It's supposed to help people be the best version of themselves, especially by doing what they call clearing the thing that blocks you from being mentally healthy. So that's different for every person, but their headlining program actually started as a leadership coaching module called Executive Success.
Oh, shit.
And the idea was that it would promise high-power executives this motivational training that would cure them of any negative behaviors. And with Nancy's connections, they launched this group. So seminars supposedly taught people wellness and to have more joy in their life, and they would cost up to $10,000 for 5 days of lectures.
Of lectures?
Lectures, yes, girl.
Oh, my God.
So Keith would make the people who came to these lectures call him Vanguard, and Nancy Salzman was called Prefect.
Like in Harry Potter.
Yes. So new members would take a personality quiz that would determine which groups they were in and how long they needed to stay at the costly, intensive, shitty grown-up summer camp.
Oh my God. Wait a minute. I think I have seen a documentary on this.
You 100% have. There's no way you haven't heard of this.
I'm pretty sure. But I've watched so many about cults that I...
Yeah, that's not unfair, because same. So Keith and Nancy basically claim that the purpose of their organization was for people to experience more joy and physical wellness in their lives and to cleanse themselves of negative energy. But it's really important to note the strategy that they use to target people. So the way they keep people in their cult is by telling them during this process of healing / becoming your best self, there will be times when you're going to feel uncomfortable and you're going to want to leave. And that means you're doing it right.
What the fuck?
Right. And they keep these people in these emotionally invasive group therapies for over 14 hours a day. So they're using tactics like sleep deprivation, which is one of the most effective torture techniques because it physically and psychologically breaks people down.
Yeah.
So students would go through sessions on money, facing the universe was one session, control, freedom, and surrender, and things like this, right? And Keith thought that there were two types of people who existed in the world. People were either parasites, and those are people who suffer and create problems where none exist and they crave attention. And the second type of people was suppressives, and they see good people or they see good things happening, but they want to destroy it.
Wait.
And so
wait. We can only be a parasite or a suppressive?
Yeah.
Those are our options?
Yeah.
Those
you're either a
both
leech
suck.
or you're a dick. There's only those two.
What are you going to be? What would you choose? What?
I mean, you know what he is.
A dick leech? He sounds like both.
He's a dick leech for sure.
Both of those
A
suck.
dick leech is the worst combination of both.
There's not like a step above. Like, you almost there.
No.
Like, this is the best you can be as
that's
a parasite or a
no,
dick?
sorry. What he's telling you is like only the people you could be one of those two things until you become like enlightened.
Oh, and then what are you?
And then once
a
you've-
shiny star? What's your name
you're,
then?
Yes, you're a shiny star. New shiny star.
I'm very concerned about the labeling. Like,
big star.
I don't want to be a leech, and I don't want to be a dick.
But you do want to be a dick leech. No one wants to be that.
That's what fucking Keith is. Keith is a dick leech.
One couple spent over $300,000 on these NXIVM classes. And when
Who has $300,000?
This couple went bankrupt. They sold their house to do these classes.
Sold their home.
Yes, girl.
Sydnee.
Okay.
Oh,
so
my God.
the
He's in jail.
allegations,
Okay, good.
yes, the allegations basically become Keith kept people involved in the organization by isolating them from their families, mocking their strength and intelligence when they wanted to leave. And he started by targeting people who were looking for something more out of their lives, right? Like all cult leaders do. People who had recently gone through breakups, had difficulties with their careers or relationships, or were struggling with mental illness, classic cult shit.
And then he would call them parasites and parasites and dicks.
Yeah, correct.
That's rude as fuck.
Oh, it gets so much worse. So
more rude?
Yes. So during these
God.
intensives, NXIVM would set up these things called EMs, or explanations of memories, during these intensive sessions. So basically, Nurse Nancy, who's not a real nurse, keep that in mind, did a really deep emotional therapy session on stage individually with each person, where she would ask them to explore the most painful or difficult thing that they had ever experienced. And this would sometimes be in front of hundreds of people.
Wait. Okay. So she calls you from the audience.
Yeah.
You get on the stage.
Yeah.
And she says,
I want you to tell me the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
One time I met this guy and he called me a leech.
A dick leech.
A dick leech.
Okay. Yeah, it would be like that, except then she'd be like, go deeper. I don't believe you. You're not doing enough to access your most emotional side. Like, it was very self-helpy, but it was also very invasive for these people, right?
Do more? What the
Yeah. So if you go back and look at these videos, and there are lots of
videos?
They videotaped everything.
Idiots.
So everything was like a super emotional and very badly staged AA meeting or something. Like, everyone stands up and tells them about a time where like something really fucking bad happened to them, and then everyone claps and encourages them, and they're like, go deeper. Like, everyone is saying it. Like, do more, tell us more.
Tell us more about the bad thing that happened to you?
Yes.
Was it something bad that they did, or something bad that happened to them?
Could have been either.
Oh my God. And they're like, hooray.
And everyone's like, great job. And I feel like that's part of how they hook you in, because lots of these people are looking for like acceptance and a sense of progress in their lives. Mm-hmm. And they're working their way through this like past trauma. And Keith and Nancy had this reward system, which went kind of like this. You take classes, which are very expensive, you pass milestones, you recruit other people, exactly like an MLM. And when you accomplish these things, you get a different colored sash when you level up.
Oh my God. I have seen this documentary because I remember the sashes, because it reminds me of karate.
It's exactly like karate.
I know what the fuck you're talking about. And the reason I didn't remember it, because I had to watch this in pieces. Because it's intense. So gross. Yeah.
It's a lot, yeah. So this man is Cobra Kaiing up people's lives with his karate bullshit.
Adults.
Grown-ups who chose to be a part of this. So they start using self-help techniques, religious ideologies they borrow heavily from every religion, from Buddhism to Scientology. They're using hypnosis techniques headlined by fake nurse Nancy Salzman.
Fake Nancy.
The
dick leech. She's a dick leech too.
Eventually they end up with over 16,000 members worldwide, including centers in Mexico, Canada, even as far away as Australia.
Oh my God, he took this international.
Girl, the Dalai Lama spoke at one of their events.
He must be ashamed.
They had some serious clout. Yeah, he definitely is.
Ashamed, really.
Yeah, I would be. So it wasn't just, he's probably not because he's like beyond that, but I would be. Just a little bit.
He should be.
So it wasn't just...
He's a little leechy for that.
It wasn't just the Executive Success Program. NXIVM and Keith Raniere were at the head of several organizations, including an all-male group called the SOP, or Society of Protectors, where men were basically taught how to control and dominate women. I'm not joking.
That is disgusting. If you are in the SOP and you're listening to this, you can FO.
Why are you here? Go fuck yourself, sir.
GTFO, bitch.
I was going to say sir or ma'am, and then I was like, no,
this is for sirs.
Is specifically for men. This is for sirs only.
This is sirs focused.
The organization that they had that was ma'ams focused was called...
There's a ma'ams? God
ma'ams.
Damn.
The main one is ma'ams. The saddest one is ma'ams. So... It's called Jane S. They would openly advocate for women in leadership roles. They'd be like, women are really smart and emotionally intelligent, and we should put them in leadership roles. But behind closed doors, they had some horribly misogynistic views. There was even a group for children in this cult.
Freaking God.
Called the Rainbow Cultural Garden.
What the fuck with these names? Can we get a theme?
Thinking about this man having access to anyone's childhood development is truly horrifying.
So they had a SIRS focused, what was it called? Plop? What's it called?
Plop.
Is that right?
Society of Protectors, yeah. SOP.
Yeah, SOP. And then they have
SFOP.
Jeunesse.
And then they have Jeunesse.
God. And then they go from those two to Rainbow Culture Garden.
Correct.
From a branding perspective alone,
Get your
that
shit
is
together.
Terrible.
Yeah, you're a nightmare.
That is a mess.
You're a PR nightmare, and that's going to be apparent.
Truly.
So, within the female group, and this is where it gets truly horrifying, there was an elite track called the DOS, which stands for Dominus Obsequious Sororium, which basically translated from Latin means master over the enslaved women.
Okay. I have got in the Loch Ness Monster group for the ma'ams,
yes.
There was an elite track that literally said master over enslaved women.
And no one Googled that before they started.
I mean, what?
Clearly no one took high school Latin, right? Because, you would definitely know.
And... which, same, but before you get a tattoo, you need to check out what it means, and that's the
Same
vibe.
with joining a cult, yeah. Just check what it means. Just Google it.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And so they start indoctrinating these women with some obviously really problematic shit about how women and men are different and how things are supposed to be. For instance, they would break you down physically and reframe your identity, which is part of the indoctrination process of lots of different cults.
Right. That's a cult classic.
And there's one specific member who would eventually become... cult classic. That was good. I missed it because I was focused. That was really good.
I made a joke.
So the one member who would eventually become the face of this segment was a semi-famous Smallville actress, if you remember the show Smallville, named Allison Mack, who we'll see is eventually arrested on criminal charges of forced labor and sex trafficking. So, how did you get into DOS? So, the women were all attractive, young women who were all very slender and well-dressed.
Well, I'm out.
You had to have your shit real together, and I'm out. Most of the women were people who seemed to be missing something in their lives, as many of us feel like we are in our 20s, and most of us don't join sex cults, but whatever.
Okay, wait. So we go from Loch Ness Monster to Latin Club to sex cults.
We're in a sex cult now.
Gosh, they have no fucking chill. They have no chill. They're like MLM, Pyramid, Loch Ness Monster, Latin Club, sex cult. Can we slow down?
None whatsoever. So in order to be part of this, DOS inner circle, you had to have sex with Keith Raniere, and it was considered the only path to, true enlightenment.
Oh, because he's a
And
genius.
that included some pretty famous actresses, correct? The daughter of a former Mexican president, and the heiress to the Seagram's alcohol fortune, and lots of other pretty influential women who are being manipulated by Raniere and Allison Mack. So he'd publicly tell everyone that the women who were not having sex with him were not truly committed to their personal growth.
Was Allison a believer, or was she
Oh yeah, big time.
Oh, I didn't know if she was
She's
in
his
on
number one groupie.
Oh, okay.
She's recruiting other women to join him and have sex with him. She is forcing them to have sex with him. She is having sex with them.
Because
can't. They have to serve her too.
Her?
Yes. So he becomes extremely obsessed with controlling the women's weight. He would tell them that the more subservient they were, the more they were fulfilling their roles as women, which included things like calling him master and asking him before they could eat.
I would just start in the morning and be like, hey, can I eat all day? Because that's what's going to happen.
Like those super annoying kids, like, hey, can I eat? Hey, can I eat?
Hey, Mom,
hey, can I eat?
Mom, I'm hungry.
So he would basically control them financially. He would ask them to sign over deeds to important properties and assets. And that brings me to my next point. Everyone who was involved in this was required to give him some kind of collateral to join the inner circle.
Oh my God, collateral. Like a watch? Or what?
Like, sometimes. Or
Watches.
for Allison Mack, for instance, it was a naked video of herself masturbating.
Who
for one woman,
has that on hand?
Allison Mack does.
Oh
for one woman, it was the secret claim that her father had molested her. And Rainier insisted that these women give him something that would severely damage their lives if it came out. For some people, it was the deed to their house.
The deed?
Yes, we're back to this, like, these little bottles of poison that he's hanging over people's head to manipulate them.
Oh.
Whenever people would find the programming to be too intense because they're being sexually assaulted, or they would get tired of having sex with him, he would dangle whatever little bottle of poison he had over them to remind them what a big mistake it would be to leave.
If they were smart, they would have given him a fake bottle.
Sure, exactly.
But these people probably weren't thinking like that.
Yeah. And so remember that this is being billed as a women's wellness and empowerment group. So from the outside, other women are watching these successful, wealthy, thriving women, and they look thin and happy, and they're coveting these spots, so they want to be on the inside badly. But behind closed doors, he's horribly manipulating these women. He's psychologically and sexually abusing them, and he's basically burning their lives down from the inside out. Like, one woman lost her entire multi-million-dollar fortune of over, I know she had at least $100 million because she paid that in court fees for him.
For him? Man,
for him.
People do not.
These women were sleep
Trust
deprived.
no
They were
bitch.
forced to go on near starvation diets. They were sexually assaulted by Rainier and by higher ranking members of the DOS, and eventually they were branded.
I have got to know. Branding is for cows.
Correct.
To make it make sense.
So basically, he forced them to lay down on a table while another member heated a branding iron over a flame and seared Keith Raniere's initials into their skin above their pelvic regions.
Oh my God. So force them? So it wasn't like a... I mean, I'm okay if you want to be branded.
Oof. Yeah.
It's not for me, but he would force them to?
No, they volunteered.
Oh.
They did it voluntarily, and he made each of them record a video of themselves begging him to be branded.
I just, like... I'm a little bit... just a little confused about this entire story. And this is why it took me like 4 days to watch this documentary, because it was like, ugh, and then I would turn it off because I like to live in a happy place where an MLM is selling cotton candy. That's not where we are.
You live in a fantasy world. Go on.
Yeah, I do.
This man is a disgusting fuck. So after learning
about... A disgusting fuck is great.
Thank you.
That's a great... He is a dick leech and a disgusting fuck.
So after learning about all of this, several members inside of NXIVM began blowing the whistle. One Canadian actress and DOS member, Sarah Edmonton, took a part in a New York Times tell-all story where she even displayed her brand for them. India Oxenberg would go on to produce the documentary Seduced Inside the NXIVM Cult, and she also went to the press at the time. The super secret sex cult came as a huge surprise to most members inside NXIVM, including Nancy Salzman, his original partner, whose own daughter was a member of the DOS.
So wait, DOS Latin Club is separate from regular people.
Yep.
Regular people are...
And he didn't tell any of the regular people it was happening.
Regular people are... They just bought the bottom of your Tupperware. Latin Club.
These people got the bottom, the top. They put a whole enchilada in it.
Enchilada. That sounds great.
I know.
But was he sleeping with Nancy and her daughter?
He had been promising Nancy that they would have a child together for 10 years. while he's manipulating and assaulting her daughter.
Ooh.
So these bombshells hit the press. Nancy is pissed, first of all.
Nancy about to go off.
She absolutely ratted on him.
Good, as she should.
Even though she was going to go to jail too. So after these bombshells hit the press, he drafts a statement where he basically calls him and his female disciples. He says any criticism of us is inherently misogynistic. And he said that the women of DOS were really, who they called themselves slaves, were actually more comparable to the writers of the Declaration of Independence. I'm not joking. That's not.
I don't
that's not even
understand what he's trying to say with that.
I don't. No one does.
What, that he's writing a new world order?
Uh-huh.
What? He loves himself.
100%. So the FBI starts investigating these claims, and most of his inner circle stayed true to him, and they followed him to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico in 2017, where he hid from the FBI in a lavish mansion. He asked his inner circle...
How do you hide from the FBI in a mansion?
Great question.
They need you on the case.
They need me. I could definitely find this man. Or not. I don't know geography well.
In a mansion? Yeah,
I can find Google Maps. Okay. Okay, and the way that they caught him is that one of his inner circle posted an Instagram video, and an FBI agent was like, "Is that a banana tree? These bitches are in Mexico."
Whoa.
So basically, he asked all of his inner circle to join him for a recommitment ceremony where he was pretending to marry them all, and they each had to give him a blowjob to
At the wedding?
remind them that they shouldn't flip and tell anything to the FBI.
Shouldn't he be giving them blowjobs?
That's a great question.
Like, this is so fucking
for this
twisted.
dick leech. So the ceremony never takes place because in March of 2018, Mexican federales bust down the door of his mansion, arresting Nerdy Jesus, who has been hiding in the closet like a fucking coward.
Cute.
And several of his most devoted female followers, including Allison Mack. As he awaited trial, some of these women would dance outside of his jail cell and coordinate protests to release him, they said, in order to keep his spirits up.
What do you mean dance? Are there videos of the dancing?
Yes.
Oh, I'm about to look it up.
Look it up. He was convicted and eventually found guilty of federal charges that included sex trafficking, child pornography, racketeering, criminal conspiracy, and forced labor, because during the trial, it came out that he had likely committed statutory rape on many young women, including one that was 15 when he was 45 years old.
Ew!
And he gets sentenced to 120 years in a federal prison. Praise Nerdy Jesus.
That's what he did.
So many of the higher-ups in the company, including Nancy Salzman and Allison Mack, are also facing prison sentences. During his trial, a writer for the New York Times named Jessica Knoll wrote an op-ed piece on how the wellness industry contributed to his ability to control so many women. She said, "The wellness industry is a function of the patriarchal beauty standard under which women either punish themselves to become smaller or are punished for failing to comply. When you deprive, punish, and isolate yourself to look good, it is impossible to feel good."
Wow. Yeah.
Wellness, she wrote, isn't about being freer or stronger. It isn't about loosening the shackles of oppression and throwing them to the wind. It's about slipping them onto our wrist and letting someone else tighten the screws. It's about powerlessness. It's about surrender. It's about love, pain, and letting people tell us we don't know the difference.
Wow. She's the secret hero of this entire thing with that statement.
Honestly, she's a dream. So there was one Rolling Stone article that talked about Knoll's piece, and it says, what Knoll's piece exposed wasn't so much the stark truth of the wellness industry, but the brutal truth about the condition of womanhood in general, which is that so many of us hate ourselves so intensely, so often, that there is no limit to the amount of pain we are willing to endure to change that.
Damn, this thing making me think about myself.
Honestly, same. And the wellness industry, because it's a $1 trillion industry and it's crazy. Yeah. But what I want to highlight here, and what's been highlighted by the HBO and the Starz special, is that joining a cult is something that could happen to a lot of people without your knowledge.
Yeah.
They preach a narrative of bettering yourself and being a part of a community, which we all want desperately.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, Rainier targeted women who had craved fulfillment in their lives, and he harnessed the manipulative power of the wellness industry, and he weaponized their own self-doubt against them.
Yep. Yep.
To this I say, never stop being a little bit skeptical about people who say they can fix your problems, because if they're saying that, they're probably trying to sell you something. Never stop advocating for yourself and your own well-being, however you define that. Don't let other people define it. And remember that if you're an adult who has to ask someone before you eat a bowl of cereal, you're in a cult.
110%, or prison.
And that's the story of the NXIVM wellness cult and the human piece of garbage, Nerdy Jesus / Keith Raniere.
/ Dick Leech.
/ Dick Leech.
Oh, that was crazy. Well, that was fucking cool. Scary.
Thank you.
Sad.
Yay.
I know you liked it because it was a bit of crime and a bit of medical shit. I know you did.
Crime, medical shit, cults, everything I wanted.
If this is your first episode or you haven't done so already, like and subscribe. Do you like and subscribe, or is that YouTube?
No, you can subscribe and rate us on Apple Podcasts.
Do what you do. Follow us on our social medias, on our Instagram, our twits. That's Twitter. Facebook.
Then that's it.
Doo-doo.
Don't be in a cult.
See you next week. Don't be in a cult. PSA.